Hello, my name is Elmer Towns, and I want to talk to you about the most exciting thing that's happening in church these days. It's Friend Day. Someone has said that Friend Day is the hottest thing going in Sunday school. Why? Because it works. Friend Day is a day when a lot of people will come to church, but more important than the crowd, it'll be excitement. And it's not just the old days when we had homecoming or rally day or perhaps dinner on the grounds. Friend Day is a day when people will get saved. Now, many churches have evangelistic crusades or revival meetings or some form of soul-winning outreach. But Friend Day will get more saved than any other crusade you could have. I get excited about Friend Day. Why? Because it works. Last week I was coming through the Atlanta airport, came up to the Delta counter. A man came up and he saw my Friend Day lapel pin. And he said, "When is your church having its Friend Day?" And I told him, he said, "Tomorrow, my church, First Baptist Church, Snellville, Georgia, is having a Friend Day." And he was excited about it. Well, that was last Sunday. And now 2 days later, the students came up to me and said they doubled their attendance in one day. Exciting things happen in Friend Day. Matter of fact, we have found some 10,000 churches have told us that they have doubled. It is really the rule of thumb that churches can double in a day. It'll be the greatest thing that your church has ever done to have a Friend Day. Now let me quickly just walk you through 4 doors that will open up a whole new world of evangelism to you. 4 doors to Friend Day. First, Friend Day is an enrolling campaign. Why will it be so great? Because we're going to ask you, the board members, the Sunday school teachers, the average person who sits in the pew, the most faithful and the casual attender, to go out and to enroll your friend to come to Friend Day. We're having a great day over at our church. We're having a lot of special activities. The pastor's preaching a special sermon on Friend Day. I want you to come and be my friend, to stand up with me. Everyone's going to have a friend. I don't want to be embarrassed. Be my friend on Friend Day and come to church with me. That's the motive. And when they say yes, you give them a card. We call it a yes card. Yes, I will be a friend of, and you sign your name. I would put my name, Elmer Towns. Yes, I'll be a friend of Elmer Towns. Yes, I'll be there, and they sign their name. They enroll and commit themselves to come to Sunday school. Second of all, it's called a networking campaign. And when we use the phrase networking, we are going to work through the webs of life to reach people for Christ. You don't have to set a big goal. You don't have to give away a prize, a new Bible, the world's biggest banana split. Basically, it is a networking campaign bringing people to Christ. Now, in the old days, revival meetings depended upon an event. We have a chart here, and the chart talks about 2 kinds of ways that people are brought into the church. Notice at the bottom, we talk about front door evangelism, bringing prospects, neighbors, new residents, and other people into the front door of the church where they hear the gospel and hopefully they will be saved. There are 2 synonyms to describe front door evangelism. Inviting evangelism, we invite our friends, come hear the gospel and get saved. Or event, come to a revival meeting, a special gospel concert, and we bring them into the front door where they get saved. Side door evangelism has a different motive. And may I mention, the primary thrust or movement in the church today is from front door evangelism to side door evangelism. Side door evangelism has 3 aspects. You win a hearing. That's the phrase we use. Winning a hearing, which means you win someone to you, the Christian. Second of all, you win them to the church. And thirdly, you win them to Jesus Christ. I think in terms of the pastor of the Bible Baptist Church in Gainesville, Georgia, Buddy Thigpen. He came to my church because he wanted to play softball on our church team. And the pitcher, Mac, made a friend of him. And so Buddy Thigpen was won, first of all, to the pitcher, to Mac. Second of all, to the church. He had to come to church to play softball. And thirdly, he came to know Jesus Christ, got saved, went to a Baptist university, got his training, and today is pastoring a church. He was won through side door evangelism. Now follow me carefully. In the old days, front door evangelism was based on inviting an event. You will invite people, but for a different motive. In the old days, we invited them to an event. But side door evangelism, friend day, you will invite them based on your relationship. Because you know me, come with me, help me on friend day. It's going to be a great day. We're going to have continental breakfast at the church. I want you to come and be my friend at friend day at my church. When we talk about why people come to church, let's just ask ourselves the question, why do people come to church, and why do people become Christians? At the Church Growth Institute, we've done a number of surveys. Matter of fact, I've done this survey over 400 times. In a large audience, I'll ask people to put a hand up and tell me, what was the reason that brought you to be saved or that got you to join the church? Let's go through those 4 reasons. About 2% of the people come to know Jesus Christ or join a church because of some form of advertisement. They perhaps see a gospel telecast. They hear the gospel on the radio. They see a billboard. Someone gives them a tract, a flyer, maybe a Gideon Bible. Who knows what form. This I call non-personal evangelism. Evangelism is done by a thing. 6% of the people are won to Jesus Christ by the pastor. Now, this is not the pulpit ministry. This is pastoral contact, such as a funeral, wedding, crisis counseling, hospital counseling. Most people think the pastor is hired to be the soul winner, and that's not true. The pastor leads the flock in soul winning. And therefore the pastor leads, but about 6 out of 100 will come to know Jesus Christ through the pastor's direct contact. Now the third figure, again, is 6%. About 6% of the people come through organized outreach. This is the visitation program or preaching in a rest home or nursing home, preaching in a jail, some form of organized outreach. The Southern Baptists have CWT. Or, let's see, the Wesleyans have the GRADE program. Many Presbyterians will use EE for Evangelism Explosion. All of these are good programs that win people to Christ, but about 6 out of 100 come through a soul-winning program. 86% of the people who are brought to Jesus Christ were brought by friends and relatives. Now, if this is a group, this could be a board meeting, a Sunday school teachers meeting, or maybe a ladies auxiliary meeting. I'm going to ask you, the viewer, to put your hand up right now and tell me what it is that brought you to Jesus Christ. Here's what I want you to do. By putting a hand up and doing this demonstration, now you will demonstrate to the people in the room who are viewers what brought the most people to Christ. And the raising of the hands now will give a creditable demonstration of why we ought to have a friend day. Are you ready? Now, again, let's review. I'm going to ask you how many were brought to Christ by advertisement, and then how many were brought to Christ by pastoral influence, and then how many were brought to Christ by organized outreach, and finally by a friend or relative. You can only vote once. Would somebody there count the hands for me and summarize? Why? Because I find that I can give statistics over television and people just write it down and forget it. But if you see the statistics demonstrated in your church, you'll never forget it. All right, let's vote. How many of you were brought to Christ through some form of advertisement or non-personal evangelism? Put a hand up now. Okay, number 2, how many of you were brought to Christ through pastoral contact? Put a hand up now. And number 3, how many of you were brought to Christ through some form of organized outreach? A third time, put a hand up. And finally, how many were brought to Christ through friends and relatives? If you're at all normal, a lot of hands should have gone up. That is a classic demonstration of why you ought to have a friend day, because most people are brought to Christ by friends. It's the New Testament way. Because why? Andrew brought Peter, and John brought James. And Philip brought Nathanael. On the first 2 days of Jesus' ministry, he used a friend day approach for the disciples to reach their brothers or friends and to bring them to Christ and then to become a disciple. Now, when we talk about friend day, there's a second thing we ought to talk about. My students who take church growth from me do research for me. We go to a local church and try to do a complete profile, and one of the questions we ask is, why did you choose the Sunday school class you chose? Do you have any idea of why people choose Sunday school classes? Most of us think that people choose a Sunday school class because they're interested in topic, and that's not true. Although that's the way we advertise. Come to my class. We're going to discuss from Egypt to Canaan, God's people wandering in the wilderness. Or come to my class, we're going to discuss the book of Colossians, the deeper Christian life. You see, people are not interested in the wilderness wanderings. They want to wander to the lake on Sunday. The deeper life is deeper in the covers. Why do people come to? Number one, they come because of friendship, or they're looking for fellowship. Someone brings them, or they want to know people. The strong, dominant motive for joining a Sunday school class is relationships, and that's what Friend Day is. Number two, people come because they want help. They have a need, and they wonder, can this church help me? I have a kid who is depressed. I have a kid who's on drugs. My family is breaking up. We can't control our finances. Can you help me? Number three, we get to topic. Now people are interested in the wilderness wanderings or the deeper life of Colossians. Number four, they choose a class because they like the teacher. I want to study with Mr. Breland, or I want to study with Mrs. Smith. And number five, they choose a class because of method. You know, I find more Sunday school classes making use of things that you are looking at right now. Video class. I know of a church that has a video Sunday school class. Now, the class is taught by the television, but there is a class leader, an outreach leader, an in-reach leader. The class is led by people, but taught by television. 5 reasons why people choose a Sunday school. And what's the dominant reason? Because of relationships. That's why Friend Day is going to help your Sunday school, because you will bond them through relationships to your Sunday school. Now, I said to you there are 4 doors. And the first door, we said it's an enrolling door. And the second door we talked about was a networking. Let's talk about a third door. It's a stair-stepping campaign. I went out to the garage and got this old ladder. And this old ladder is going to demonstrate to us why Sunday school, a Friend Day, is so effective. This old ladder is going to demonstrate to you one of the easiest ways to win people to Jesus Christ. Now, first of all, let me tell you, we've got to think of salvation as more than just a decision, getting people to make a decision. We've got to think in terms of pre-evangelism, then we've got to think in terms of evangelism, and then post-evangelism. And we've got to think in terms of not just the event of conversion. Let's bring this over. Jesus said, you must be born again. Salvation is pictured as being born again. Now, birth is an event, but a lot of things happen before that event. Being born again is an event, but a lot of things happen that make people get ready to be born again. Pre-evangelism is getting people ready to be saved. First of all, takes away the mental barrier. I brought this ladder to you because I was going to brag to you. I was going to say, I can stand here and jump to the top of this ladder. What would you say to that? You say, no, you can't do it. And I'd say, you're right. And if I were to brag, I can jump to the top of this ladder. Suppose I were to get way down, and I was going to get way down and jump hard, I still wouldn't make it. Sometimes you go into a home, you're out at coffee with a friend and say, you ought to get right with God, you ought to get saved. You know what they think? They think in terms of jumping a ladder, and they said, I can't do that. And so they say no. And let me tell you what Friend Day is. Friend Day is nothing more than stair-stepping. You take one step at a time. Will you be my friend? And they say, yes. And then you take a second step. Come with me on friend day. And they say yes. Now, I'm not going to go all the way up the step, but you can move them up easy, one step at a time. Let me tell you, 3-year-olds can climb a ladder. 60-year-olds can climb a ladder. You can get anyone saved if you can take them stair step one at a time and move them right up the laws of getting them saved. Now, suppose I were to tell you, I know 100 people in your community who are just about ready to get saved. I know 100 people in your community. I've got a list. And this list of 100 people will come to your church, will get saved in your church, will join your church, and be good members in your church. What would you say to that? Would you like that list of 100 people? Sure you would. You know who that list is? That list is the 100 people that you're going to turn in when you turn in your Friend Day card. You see, that list can be 1,000. If there's 1,000 of you and every one of you were to turn in a list of your best friend, because they know you, they know your lifestyle, they like the things that you like. If they like you, they will like your church. They are the most savable. Now, that's not a word, but we're going to coin a word. The friends of this church make the list of the most savable people in your community. There can be 100 or 1,000. There may be 1,000,000 people in your community, but there's 100 savable people. So the old emphasis is reach the reachable while they're reachable. Many years ago, I wrote a book called Winning the Winnable, and then I added while they are winnable. Now, we're going to take them stair step one at a time. Now, follow me carefully. I'm going to show you 3 types of people. There are people whose back is to the stair step. Would you come and be my friend? No way. I wouldn't go to a Baptist church. I wouldn't go to a Methodist church. I could never go to a Presbyterian church. They just hate God, and they're back. Would you come